Rebecca Cummings, publisher of the Kailua Town Magazine, and I am super excited to be here with Asia D'Antonio, owner of KidzArt, Club Scientific, the Dream Lab, and it's just been a really exciting story. We've been friends for a long time, as in her wedding 2 years ago. That's how close we are, and she's fun, and her story is inspiring, so I am really excited to share with you and let Asia talk a little bit.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to be here. Well, I'm always excited to be here. This is literally one of my classrooms, but I'm excited to be on your podcast.
I know. Thank you so much for, again, being like guinea pig number 2.
But I love being a guinea pig. Absolutely.
So this is really exciting because when I asked you, I didn't realize, but you guys just celebrated 1 year at the Dream Lab, at Kapa, at this, 12,000 square foot warehouse?
I think it's right under 6,000, but it feels like 12,000.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
It's so much bigger than where you are, and I know this was just a huge dream for you.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting to get to that 1 year marker, and just congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So.
I know you were at our grand opening, which was really sweet. And I'm so grateful you were there, actually. Yeah, the first birthday party just passed this Saturday. I'd say we had like 200 to 300 people that came.
That's awesome.
Which is pretty comparable to our grand opening too. We had a lot of returning faces that were like, "Oh my gosh, it looks so different than a year ago."
It does.
It does. We got the playground now, and we even just tiled the whole front area. Dan went and did that earlier this week. So we're just chugging right along, and just excited to have so many families continue to return to us. Yeah.
That is wonderful. I'm so happy for you guys. And so we'll just take a step back for a minute, because you and I met, I've been publishing the Kailua Town Magazine for now just over 10 years, but in my first issue was KidzArt. But it was a different owner.
It was a different owner, and people might not particularly know, but I actually met Rebecca 3 jobs ago because I was at Timmy T's. I was the first employee over there. So I was designing the ads for Timmy T's back in 2015. Yeah. And that's where I met you. And then I moved to KidzArt as a certified instructor. And I was also designing the ads for you. And it was kind of funny to see you pop in. I'm like, oh, you with the magazine. I guess I'm designing an ad for you over here now. And then I took over that business.
Yeah. And it's funny because there was a period of time where KidzArt didn't advertise, and the previous owner didn't respond, and she had moved away, which is fine. But then I sort of went on the website and was like, who's the owner? Asia D'Antonio. And I'm like, the name is so familiar. But I meet so many people and I communicate with so many people that when I reached out to you, I think via DM,
on Facebook.
You were like, hey, I worked with you before and that's why I had your email address already in my contacts.
Yeah, small island, really.
Super small island, super small town. But yeah, so you started, when we met, you were the manager, first employee at Timmy T's, which has also expanded, and that's wonderful.
So proud
We're happy
of Tim
for
and Tom.
them. Yeah. And then KidzArt under a different owner, and sort of, how did it happen? What was what the year that you took over? What was that story?
Right. So I actually started working for KidzArt in 2016. Katina, the previous owner, had started this little studio called Kaleidoscope. And it was just a really cute little place, but it's hard to get so many kids into the classroom. So we moved to what became kind of our permanent home for a while at the church. And we had that little studio, and I actually took over in 2018. Okay. So probably around like summer of 2017, I think, is when Katina knew that she was going to leave, and she was trying to find the right person to take on KidzArt. Yeah. You have to really love kids. You have to really love art, and finding the right person to give something that you're so close to, I know is really difficult for you, and she couldn't find anybody. Yeah. And so she worked things out with me, and I took over. I had to go to the mainland. I got training. It was like a whole experience. So that was Yeah, 2018.
Okay. And so for people that don't know, KidzArt is like a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a number of other KidzArt across the country.
Yeah, there's about 15 of us all together, and
Okay.
we're a little bit of everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a few in Mississippi, there's 3 in Florida, we're in Colorado, and we're even in Indonesia.
Oh, wow.
But there's not many of us. We're a pretty small community, and all the franchise owners are really great.
Okay, that's awesome. I didn't know how many there were.
Yeah.
So that's cool. All right, and then KidzArt also has, because you guys do Club Scientific, and then they have other things, but so all of those things fall under KidzArt.
Yeah, pretty much. So KidzArt took on Club Scientific probably back in 2014.
Okay.
And there's not many KidzArts that do Club Scientific. There's currently about 3 of us, but we really love Club Scientific because we're getting to teach kids like career-based science.
Right. Okay.
So it was a really fun addition, and we actually brought Club Scientific on in I believe 2022.
Okay.
If my years are right, I sure hope so.
It sounds right.
Yeah, it sounds right to you.
But I do. Let's see. Where do we start? Where do we go? So basically, why don't we talk about how you grew up? Born and raised Kailua?
I am. I'm a very proud Kailua High School graduate.
That's awesome.
Anyone who knows me knows that I'm really proud. It was a great school. I cannot say enough good things about Kailua High School, honestly.
That's awesome.
And I still have a relationship with a lot of teachers there.
Oh, nice.
But yes, very proud Kailua High grad. So is Daniel.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I've basically been in Kailua my whole life. There was a small amount of time I lived in Arizona, about 5 years, give or take.
Okay.
But other than that, I've basically been in Kailua. I used to work at Enchanted Lake McDonald's for like 7 years. Like Ben Franklin, if you know me from there.
That's funny. And when did you figure out that you loved art? Like, when were you introduced? What's that? How did that come about? Because I feel like it was pretty young.
It was young. I would say about 6 or 7 is when I decided I wanted to be an art teacher or a cat trainer.
Similar fields?
Similar fields, yep. Herding and teaching. Yeah, herding cats and teaching, very similar.
Yeah.
And I'd like to say that I accomplished both of those goals. I can make my cats jump through hoops, so that's positive. But not to talk about my cats too much, the Dream Lab did start early on. My brother was a little bit of an artist, and he was kind of always maybe a little sick when he was a kid.
Older or younger?
He's older. So he's about 4 years older than I am, like 3.5. And he always drew a lot, and so I would draw with him. And I just loved it. It was like the only thing that I liked. And the older and older I got, I just kept wanting to do more art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although ironically, I did thought I was going to have a music career in high school for a minute. But I don't have any musical talent whatsoever. So.
What instrument were you going to play? Or what were you going to be doing?
So I started playing guitar when I was maybe in the 8th grade.
Okay.
And I played maybe through like 11th grade, and I joined band, and I was in percussion, and it just ended up not being my vibe.
Yeah.
I was taking voice lessons, literally at Kailua Music School, who we work with now. Yeah. And they didn't tell me I didn't have any talent. I think it was just time to move on. Yeah, but I switched right back into art.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then, so what was growing up like? Because I know there was... It wasn't the easiest. You haven't had the easiest path.
Yeah, you know, like many families in Hawaii, but all over, like, we came from a family of poverty. We were living really low income, and I had a really hard time growing up. I had a lot of support from my grandparents, which was great, but my parents were a little bit of a more difficult situation. And by the time I got into high school, when I was in the 9th grade, I already had a job and was working as many hours as I was legally allowed to. And I was already paying rent. And by the end of 2010, I was basically living kind of independently with my brother.
Okay. How old were you at 2010?
I was 15.
Okay.
About 15 years old, and by the time I hit 16, I was working full-time. I was a full-time student. And my senior year, I actually started going to Windward Community College. So I just kind of was like, well, I'm doing it. I guess I'm an adult. So here I am.
Yeah. Was that hard? Was it just sort of the reality that you had? I mean,
yes, it was hard.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was hard because it's all that I knew.
Right.
I knew that some of my peers definitely had like a much more cruise life than I did. But I was optimistic and I loved going to school. And I don't think a lot of people actually knew anything about me.
Okay.
Like that kind of stuff. I think people were like, oh, there's that like weird artist girl. Like, go do your thing, I guess. I think that was like the general feeling. But I mean, while it was hard, I got a ton of life skills really, really early on. And by the time I got into college and life, I was like, this is fine for the most part.
I got this.
Yeah. But living in Hawaii is hard. And even into my early adulthood, when I was working at Timmy T's, even early KidzArt, like it was hard to make ends meet. In fact, there was a point where I was working 3 jobs. I was full-time at KidzArt, running it as that was like my first year owning the company. I also helped open up Mad Sci Lab, which was like a slime store in Windward Mall. And I was also a part-time art teacher at St. Anne's School, and I did their morning and aftercare. And it was still hard to make ends meet working, 80 or 90 hours a week. Yeah. And hallelujah, I don't do that anymore, sort of.
Yes, but you're basically here the same amount of hours, I feel.
I am, but it is a much different feeling to be in a place that you created and love for 80 hours a week than like, and don't get me wrong, those random jobs I had, I also poured my whole heart into, and I loved them. But it just got spread too thin. And then COVID happened. Yeah. Luckily.
I definitely wanted to talk about that because so you and I, whenever we reconnected and you started, putting ads in the magazine again, I don't know when that was, if it was when you started, 2018?
It was probably 2018, 2019.
But then, COVID happened. And I knew that you lost your job, right, at St. Anne's. And we did a couple of food drives together. This is the very beginning of COVID, but you and Dan, who is now your husband, just mentioned that. But you guys were down to help, and we did this food drive. And I just remember you saying, yep, I lost my job, but now I'm just going to build my business. And it was like immediate. And you were really able to do that. And so talk a little bit about that. Was it just like, everything freaking shut down, and what am I going to do? Well, I'm just going to do this. Did you sort of know that there was a need? What was that motivation? What was that idea?
Right. Well, right when like that spring break happened and COVID happened, that was right when I kind of started to really get to know some of my regular students, because this is still really new into me having the business, and we were really small. So go ahead.
How many students did you have about at that time?
I had about maybe 50 or 60 over the course of that year through the summer, which is now our busiest season. And it was very small. And when we ended up closing down, I just knew that those students that loved our program were missing it. And so I was literally making art box kits, emailing families, and dropping kits at kids' houses to come online and do art with me. And when I saw, like, we had a free coloring day that I got some local artists involved in, we probably had about 150 people jump in on Zoom to come to this thing.
I printed out some of those
coloring sheets.
Coloring things.
Yeah.
What else was I going to do?
Yeah, I mean,
I bought colored pencils.
And you colored. Yeah. It was really cute. And I was like, man, these kids got to come back. And what was really lucky is while we kind of abided by the DOE standards and all the craziness that was happening, we were able to open when the schools kind of couldn't, because we could kind of keep things really small. Yeah. I wasn't going to have 50 or 60 kids. I might have like 10 to 20. Yeah. And then I started the learning lab.
Okay.
And what the Learning Lab ended up developing into was just a place that parents could come and drop their kids, because during early COVID, like late 2020, early 2021, all these parents, these doctors, these first responders had to go back to work, and no one's at home to watch their kid that can't go back to school. So we opened the Learning Lab, especially to help those. And basically after that, we were able to social distance, open up our camps, and I went from 50 students to about 250 the following year. And I've actually grown pretty exponentially since then.
Yeah.
It went from 250 to 350 to 560. And I believe last year we were at about 1,200 registrations.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. That's cool. And I remember you saying during COVID, it was because you were doing more than one sort of Zoom thing open to anyone.
Yeah.
And you're like, kids are tired of being on Zoom.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I think that was part of the...
It was. And actually what really pushed me through is when we opened up that first summer and we were able to space some kids apart, even seeing kids with their masks and like whatever they needed to come to class, see their friends and be like, oh my gosh, I missed you so much, and just run and hug their friends that they hadn't seen in like a year.
Yeah.
Like reunited. Cool. And it wasn't just one or two. Sometimes there were kids that hadn't even met anyone and they were just so excited to be around other kids.
Awesome.
So opening back up was the best thing that we could have done. And being able to open up was like, oh, who's open? And that's kind of what got parents talking about us, I think.
Okay. And so I know that you talked about summer camp, and that is now really your busiest time of year.
Yeah.
Did you do summer camps before, or did that kind of really kick off during the COVID years?
Yeah, so we did do summer camp. So when I first came on as a certified instructor, we were doing like half-day camps.
Okay.
So they'd come in at 9 and they'd leave at 12 usually and have one art project. And as soon as I took over, I just thought there was a bigger need. So I ended up changing it to like a full day camp. Okay. And back in 2019, I had one camp and I was teaching it. In 2020, I had one camp and I was teaching it. And then I had 2 instructors. And then I had 3. And then I have 4. And I have 20 right now. Yeah, I know. I just hired my 20th person. That's awesome. What a crew.
Yeah.
And 2 of my employees actually live on the mainland. They loved teaching so much, but they had other opportunities come up and they wanted to stay with us. So, yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And it speaks a lot to how much, because like you said, it's a special person that works here. You have to really love art. You have to love kids. You have to have energy, you know, to manage, and you have to be able to manage kids who are full of life and other things.
Full of life is one way to call it, I'm sure.
I'm trying to be as nice as possible. No, kids are wonderful, but
they are, yes.
There's a reason why parents drop their kids off for the afternoon or the morning or the day.
Or the evening.
You know, there's a reason. So I think that's wonderful. And you have some employees who used to be students.
I do. Right? As of coming into this summer, I have 5 employees that used to be KidzArt students. Okay. One of them, my oldest employee, started when she was 9, and she's now 17. Okay. And then I have 3 kids that are like 15 and 16 that started when they were about 5 or 6. Okay. And that is like the new set of kids that's starting this summer. Actually, Pete's daughter is one of them.
I know.
Yeah.
That's real. I just love that. I think it's a neat, what you're doing here, what kids learn, they really do take into adulthood. Even if they're not going to be artists, it just gives them another skill set, a platform, a stepping stone to whatever they're going to do in the future. But I think it's just exciting, and it's a neat story.
I like it.
Yeah, no, most people do. Okay, let's see. So COVID, craziness, you guys are sort of expanding and exploding. And, you know, so when you guys were at the church, how many rooms did you have? What was the space there? Just to compare it to what you have now.
Yeah, so when I started at the church, we kind of intermittently had maybe a 200 square foot room that we taught out of.
Okay.
And then as we grew in the summer, we were able to rent out a few random rooms.
Okay.
My last summer that we ended up having there, we had already expanded so much that we had filled all their extra rooms.
Okay.
And we were then having like an outdoor classroom because we needed the camp but didn't have the room. And that was kind of the calling for us, like, yeah, we could use some air conditioning maybe, you know? But forever grateful to that space, for sure.
No, for sure. And it did give you the opportunity to grow as you needed to. So for people who don't know, I just want to talk about the programs you do, because there's summer camp, but there's stuff throughout the year.
Totally.
Kind of at all hours of the day, right?
Literally. We kind of do a little bit of everything, and we're still a growing program, so some of this may change or alter in the next year or so, who knows, as we kind of dial in what's right for this giant space. But we usually have about 3 or 4 classes that are ongoing a day that range from ages 3 to teenagers.
Okay.
We're going to be starting some adult classes. We, of course, have the summer camps. We have stay and play available here. So you could literally come, sign in, drop off your kid, and you can bounce for 2 hours. And Dan and I will hang out and play. I wouldn't say it's daycare or babysitting, but it is a fun, safe place, more like a clubhouse that kids can come and hang out and do art. And we, of course, teach art, which is drawing-based art. And then for our science programs, it's kind of career-based science classes. So we're teaching kids who have an interest in animals to be a vet. Or this summer, we're teaching them how to be a doctor. We even have like a CSI camp this summer. So they could learn how to be like a criminal investigator, which is one of my favorite camps, honestly.
That's fun. So what was the motivation to take on Club Scientific? Was it just to offer something besides art, or, did you see a need? Why'd you take that one on?
Well, the short story is that I really, really loved art, and science was okay to me. Of course, I'm passionate about science now because I know how to teach science. But in the beginning, I was like, I definitely hate math, and science sounds like math, so I wasn't really sure. But my beautiful husband is much more of a scientist. So as I started to grow and I'm like, I need help, can you take off of work? I kind of was like, well, how can I drag Dan into this a little bit more to have him more interested in classes he might be kind of wanting to teach. So after like a couple years of me kind of prodding at him and being like, we could do this, it could be fun. We got Club Scientific, and we had to go up for training for that too in Florida. So really cool.
Okay, fun. And so your classes now, were they sort of 50-50 art and science, or what's the breakdown?
I would say 50-50 art and science is pretty accurate. And sometimes it's like 60% art, 40% science, and they kind of take turns. It just kind of depends.
Do kids go from one to the other, or typically do kids just stick with the art or stick with the science?
Kid. I mean, honestly, we have I would say like 75% of our students do both to some capacity. I think the biggest like mid-ground is our cooking classes, because cooking's kind of artsy and kind of sciencey, and those ones always fill up.
And that's legitimately a life skill that people should have. Whatever you're interested in, you should know how to make a meal.
Well, and absolutely. And I've had parents come in and thank me because we had a whole semester of cooking, and they're like, thank you so much for teaching my kid how to cook. I have had breakfast burritos every morning this week. I'm like,
that's so cool.
I'm like, that's what we want to hear. Like, our kids are so excited that they're literally making grocery lists for their parents to cook breakfast for them every morning.
That's awesome.
It is cool.
I like that. Okay, so now we're kind of getting into, you and I were doing yoga a lot.
We were.
And so we'd sort of talk, and there was all this, need to find a larger space.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you wanted to stay in Kailua. And by the way, there's no other KidzArt or Club Scientific options on the island, right? So
we're the
you
only
guys
ones.
are the only ones. But like, what was that? How did it happen? How did you guys end up here? I know it was a process. I know
it started with you, actually. I mean, you know that, obviously. Yeah. But as things were getting kind of overfilled at the church, to say the very least, as we were going to yoga, you had gotten an option to have Kapa'a Quarry in your magazine and needed a map. And I've done random design stuff for you.
Thank you, Asia.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to design a map. And I'd show up to yoga and we'd talk about the map. And wouldn't it be cool if I just
And they were building new buildings. It was like you didn't have to find one that was opening. It was happening.
Exactly. And I was like, well, they're building this new thing. I just drew the building, like in the picture. I'm like, what if I just did some research and just saw what it looked like? Yeah. You know, just like a little bit. So I started by reaching out to some of the other business owners, 2 in particular. I talked to Brian Burrick at Traditions Coffee, and then I talked to Carolyn at Kailua Dance Academy, and I was just trying to ask them what the climate was back here. Did they think it was good? Did they think I was a good fit for back here? They knew who I was. And both of them kind of said, yeah, come back. It's perfect. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And then I had to convince Dan, which luckily he loves me. And I was able to convince him. Like, it's my dream. It's my dream. It's my dream. If I say it's my dream enough, maybe he'll do it. And it just kind of happened. So literally, I believe your issue came out in like November, December. Yeah. And we were kind of planning. And after I kind of convinced everything, my last kind of call to action is like early February.
Of 23, 24?
24. I got a bunch of parents together. And I said, hey, guys, this is what we're thinking, and we want to know what you guys think. Yeah. Like, we outgrew this space. I had about maybe 10 groups of parents that I spoke with. Okay. They all helped brainstorm this entire idea. Okay. And then March 1st, so that was early February, March 1st, we got the keys. Okay. So we basically got all the info we needed, and when we got this place, it was just an empty box. Because literally we were the first ones in the building.
Like, there weren't even stairs to go up to the rooms upstairs, I remember.
No, there was not even stairs. All the other, they basically were like, okay, well, you're in. I guess we'll put the rolling gate on it. And that's how it happened. Okay. And so that was March last year. Yeah. Yeah. Which was crazy.
It is. I know. Time flies, and it also sort of drags. It's like weird. It's a weird... But it's mainly flown by. Yeah. And then, you know, I do want to talk because you had a really scary health situation. And so you were in the hospital for a while, and Dan was, like, building this out. Because you were... Just talk a little bit about...
Oh, my gosh. What a time...
I'm glad you're alive.
So grateful
I'm alive. Glad to be sitting here talking to you.
I wouldn't change anything, obviously. Yeah, so my first wedding anniversary was March 25th. Yep. And it was beautiful and it was great until I had to go to the hospital. Basically, I have an autoimmune thing called Sjogren's syndrome, and my body got all out of whack and just decided, like, we're done. Just to make light of a horrible situation. But I was in the hospital for 10 days, literally the week of our Easter egg hunt. Literally the week where we're having all of our drywall and our lumber delivered to start building everything out. And so Dan actually had to do almost everything alone from mid-March to June when we opened. And I probably should have stayed home a little longer than I did. I got home from the hospital in maybe early April, and about 2 weeks later, I was at the Dream Lab doing as much as I could physically do. Yeah. And I actually was still battling all of the injuries and everything from the hospital until September. So I worked through the entire summer just you know, sometimes you got to tough things out when it's not perfectly ideal, but I got to the end of it and couldn't have anything better, honestly.
I know.
Yeah.
What is your motivation or your thought process? Because as a business owner also, you know, I know stuff just needs to get done. Is it more like, oh my God, I just have to do this. This has to get done. Is it more like, I don't want to let my husband down, my business partner down? What's the, like, you know, why did you push yourself so hard when you were still so sick? You know?
It's hard to be, there's two things. The one big thing is the kids.
Yeah.
These kids, half of my students have been my students now for a couple of years, and they needed to see me because I'm part of the brand.
Yeah.
These kids really like me, and I really love my students. I love my students unconditionally.
Yeah.
I will show up every day for my students. The other part is it's a little hard to be like, it's my dream, and then be like, okay, well, I'm sick. Dan, you make all my dreams come true, please. Yeah. And, you know, Dan is the best partner I could literally ever ask for, and he would do it even if I didn't ask him. But I knew that I would feel wrong if I just let him go and take on my entire project and when it wasn't his dream to begin with. So I just kind of had to tough it out, especially my first summer here. Yeah.
Is there a little, because again, as a business owner, I get it. Is there a little like, I want to make sure things are done the way I want them to be done?
No, never. That's never happened in my life. There's no control issues. Okay. Well,
I'm glad we cleared that up.
Yeah, glad I'm
the only one that's dealing with that.
Yeah, that's just you. No, I mean, I'm an artist, so it's kind of okay if things are a little kind of chaotic, crazy, and messy, but I do like things a certain way. I want things that look good for the parents when they come in, for the kids. So there's some things I couldn't quite let go, but other than that, I kind of let Dan do the thing. I didn't let him pick the paint color, so that was me. I don't know if you could tell.
If we are in the orange room right now.
This is the orange room.
But there is a room of every color of the rainbow in this space. So it's really cool. There's purple upstairs, blue upstairs, red, yellow.
It's in rainbow order.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So just
makes it really easy to navigate. Just go to the yellow room, find the yellow door. You'll figure it out. Now, if you're colorblind, there might be a little bit of an issue.
Have you had any kids who are colorblind?
I've had one child that was colorblind, and I've had about 6 parents that were, which is I find really silly because sometimes they bring their kids to art class to see if they're colorblind.
That makes sense. But only one, okay.
Yeah, only one that I could like actually notably tell, but I think a lot of people who are colorblind don't actually know that they're colorblind.
Well, they wouldn't have anything to compare it to, right? So
yeah, well, green tends to look kind of red, but that's colorblind.
But they don't know. They don't know what green's supposed to look like.
That's true. That's true.
Interesting. It was just a fun thought I had.
Fun fact.
So, as you guys, what's your the process? How has it sort of evolved? Like, when you guys were preparing to open, did you have a strategy? Do you have a business plan? Do you have sort of things that keep you focused? Or, you know what I mean? Like, what's in terms of the business, running the business, how does that change?
It was a huge change, actually, because going from, like, my employees are here 3 hours a week in this small little box to my employees are here 20 hours a week and there's 6 classrooms and please clean them. It's just, like, a different thing. So we had to develop a lot of systems in the background to kind of keep things running. There's still systems that are being developed even, just as we grow. There's not a lot of people that know we're back here yet, even though there is a lot of people, especially for summer camps, they know where to send their kids.
Yeah.
Our after-school programs here at the Dream Lab are still growing because Kailua is still growing. Yeah. So the more it grows back here, the more students we'll have, and hopefully we'll just keep working on those systems to bring everyone in. Yeah. But some things that we've changed, like we have that stay and play now, so kids can literally just come and they don't have to sign up for classes. Okay. We've way expanded our classes, going from 3 a week to 25 a week. Wow.
Okay.
Hopefully you don't hear too much of that crazy background stuff. Those are kids running up the stairs.
Kids here. It's fine.
Yes, there is kids here right now.
That's what's supposed to happen.
Exactly. But we expanded our parents' nights out. We were doing those once a month. Now we do them 4 times a month.
So that's essentially a babysitting option, right? Drop your kids off for a few hours in the evening.
It's about 4 hours.
Yeah.
And we totally encourage parents to drop their kids off. Go to Kailua Distillery. You're right there. Get a cocktail.
Yeah.
Have some stuff from the food truck, and then come and pick up your kids. Go get some wine. Go play pickleball at Beyond Ball, and we'll have the kids.
Right.
Or there's even now a couple parents that drop their kids off, and then they go to Mountaintop.
Oh, the recovery,
Yep, and they do the hot tub and the sauna, and they'll just switch all in there.
Yeah.
Until it's time to pick up their kids. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's quite a 3 hours of that is a lot.
It is, but some people are into it, I suppose. That's not me. Yeah.
An hour is good for me. But anyway.
An hour, exactly.
Do what you want to do. The options are they're here. That's awesome. And then, so when you went from really having part-time employees, I mean, they're, I guess, all still part-time, but do you just have a few hours a week to, we're going to need more? Did those employees stay? And I know you have younger employees, so they're going to go to college or move or do other things with their lives, but were they excited about that? Have you had to find new people?
Everybody that I had back in 2023 is still an employee now, outside a few because of I've had a few employees that were just there for the summer maybe, or 6 or 7 months, maybe a semester after the summer, who were all really excited, but they had other opportunities. A great example is an employee I had named Naya. She was great. She was with us for just under a year, I'm guessing. She just came back and visited. She came and checked out the Dream Lab. Okay. So everyone was so excited when we announced it. We basically pulled the parents, and then we told our staff it was happening. And they were just like, wow, we can't believe this. Yeah. So everyone stayed on. And so when I say we have 20 employees, about 5 of them were kind of my core employees that I started with.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
And then, so you were KidzArt and Club Scientific, but you were moving in here and you wanted to create a name for this place. Mm-hmm. And so the Dream Lab, how did you guys brainstorm? How'd you guys come up with that? And then the logo is a cool story.
It is, yeah. So the name of the Dream Lab, it's actually a little funny. We did not have an actual name for the Dream Lab until maybe a week and a half before.
Oh, really?
We weren't sure. We had kind of gone back and forth on things like Kapa'a something or Art Studio something lab, and we were just trying to come up with something. I was like, what if we called it the Dream, the Kapa'a Dream Lab? Okay. So that's kind of where we started. So even up to 6 months ago, there were still a few little things that said Kapa'a Dream Lab. And Kapa'a literally translated to quarry, apparently.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
It has some other meanings, but it also has a literal translation to quarry. So Kapa'a quarry is just quarry. So I was like, oh, do I want quarry Dream Lab? Not quite, right? Yeah. So we settled on the Dream Lab because little Hawaiian spin makes sense for local kids, but D is Daniel, A is Asia. You see?
Nice.
See what we did there? And as far as the logo goes, that's really special, actually, because before our grand opening, we had a logo competition for all of our students. Yeah. And we had almost 40 entries or something like that of our students that wanted to redesign a logo for us. And we had it wasn't a tie. We had a first, second, and third place winner, but all the ideas were so good that we took those 3 winning ideas and smushed them into one logo. And the only thing that we really changed is some of those aspects had kids, and we changed the kids to our cats. Just because cats are cute, everyone likes a good cat, and it's a little bit more gender neutral. Yeah. So would look at the cast and you're not really sure. We aren't a boys' school or a girls' school. We are a place for everyone to come learn.
That's fun.
So that's the logo story.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And all right, now you're here. I know you're prepping right now for the summer camp. So how many weeks of summer camps do you have this year?
11.
Wow.
Yeah, we do 11 weeks. I think we probably have the longest summer camp program on the island. I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, that's almost 3 months.
It's almost 3 months, just shy. So we end our summer program, I believe, August 15th, and we start at June 2nd.
Okay.
And we run that long because there's like a whole bunch of private school kids, like in August, that have nothing to do because everything ends at the end of July. So we throw on those extra couple weeks just to kind of help accommodate for those parents.
Yeah.
And those are filling up pretty well too.
Awesome.
But 11 weeks, and we are offering basically 6 weeks of camp every week. So like 6 different themes of camp rather. Yeah.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So every room has a different camp in it, basically.
Yes. We have enough room for up to about 125 to 150 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and are the camps half day, full day? Is there an option for one or the other?
Yeah, so it's a full day camp.
Okay.
Most of the kids just come from 9 to 2:30 or 3. Our pickup time's 2:30 to 3 o'clock to help accommodate some of the parking issues back here. Yeah, that's one thing I have no control over. But we have morning care though. So morning care starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and will run all the way till 9. And then and camp is 9 to 3. And then aftercare runs till 5 o'clock. So we could literally have kids here the entire time. And then when we hit summer, we also still have parents' night out.
Okay.
So sometimes on Fridays, we'll have kids that will come to parents' night out who are also in camp, who are also in aftercare. They'll be here from 8 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do those kids usually like have fun the whole day? Do you put them down for a nap? Like, what's I mean, like,
they have fun the whole day. I go down for a nap usually. They usually don't. But that doesn't happen super often. There's about 5 or 6 kids that it happens kind of regularly too. But they'll just hang out. They'll play on the playground. They get to play with all their friends. And then all their friends from camp leave, and then all their friends from parents' night out come.
Got it.
So
they're not surrounded by the same group the whole time, and there's multiple things to do. And
literally, I have heard no complaints when they do stay the whole day.
All right.
Every once in a while, they'll go home at 3 and come back at 5.
Okay.
That's fine too.
Interesting. Okay. And so then, what's happening the rest of the year? Is there anything you guys are planning on? Are you like after summer? Yeah. What's the plan for the rest of the year, next year?
Well, we try to do like 4 events a year.
Okay.
One of our events is the 4th of July parade, so we kind of make a big deal about that.
Yeah.
My kids build a float for it, not to mention that I do chamber stuff for the parade, but after 4th of July, we kind of roll to our next time frame, which is going to be in October. We do Hauntopia, which is like a week kid-friendly haunted house. Okay. We also do our gingerbread house contest in December, so that's kind of a big thing. Yeah. We had about maybe 30 participants this last Christmas time. Okay. It was so cool. That one's actually my favorite one that we do. Okay. And then we do our Easter egg hunt, which just passed, hallelujah. Yeah. And that one we had almost 600 people attend this last year. Wow. And those are kind of the 4 big events that we do outside the random stuff that we pop in.
Okay, cool. And then along with what's here physically at the Dream Lab, you guys do after-school programs at public schools, right?
We do, at public and private schools.
Oh, really? Even. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So this last year, we were in 6 different schools, primarily on the Windward side, doing art and science. Okay. And then hopefully this coming year, we'll be in a few more. So, I mean, I have all these employees now, so We got to give them some more schools to go to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So where do parents find out about this? Is it online? Like, where should they go if they're interested?
So number one, I always tell people to follow my social media. So that's KidzArt Hawaii. It could be a little confusing because there's all these names, right?
Yeah.
KidzArt and Club Scientific is our franchise, so we are always going to go by KidzArt Hawaii.
Okay.
And we're hopefully always going to be the only ones in Hawaii.
Yeah.
The Dream Lab is just our location. So
Okay.
our Instagram is KidzArt Hawaii. There's also Club Scientific Hawaii. It's kind of like a developing Instagram. You're always welcome to follow that. If you don't, we're on Facebook too, same thing. If you don't have social media, I always suggest going to our website, which is thedreamlab.com.
Okay.
And that even has links to our like corporate websites like KidzArt and Club Scientific. So if you want to learn a little bit more about our particular franchises, you could look at that website too.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Good to know. So now, one thing that we haven't talked about, I mean, you mentioned that you put on the Kailua Chambers Independence Day Parade, which is quite an undertaking during your busiest time of year. Woo! But I remember that your motivation to do that is because during 2020, you had camps. Your kids were, right? This is 2020.
Yeah.
There was definitely not a parade. I remember this. But you were still doing camps, and you're like, we're building a float. It's part of our thing. And so for a couple of years, you just had your kids in camp, build a float, and then you drove it around Kailua on the 4th of July.
Yeah, we just, you got to improvise.
Yeah.
So actually, back in 2019, my first full summer when I had KidzArt was the first year we participated in the 4th of July parade. And I thought it was such a cool experience. And my kids were so stoked. Like, they lost their minds.
Really?
Yeah, it was a really big deal for them. And I was like, well, obviously I'm doing this next year. Hello, 2019 Asia. So funny. But they loved it so much, and then I planned my whole summer, and then COVID happened.
Yes, it did.
Exactly. So in 2020, we did a float, but we just made all the float things, and we were just parked in front of the church. Like, hi. The cars were the float. We were just on the side of the road thing. And then I was like, what's stopping us from driving around? The police.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess kids in the back of a truck, like that's a thing.
We were like renting a trailer.
Yeah.
And obviously we had rules with the kids and all of that. I had to call the Kailua police station just to be like, hey, listen, I'm not going to lie to you guys, but there is a trailer with about 30 kids driving around Kailua just for the next 45 minutes. And the police officer told me not to tell him and stop calling him because they don't want to know.
Okay.
So, all
right.
It was fun for the kids, and we were safe, I promise.
Yeah.
And then finally, we were able to jump back in 2023 when the parade came back.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, so my point with all of this is not only that the parade's coming up and everyone should enjoy the Kailua's
Absolutely.
Independence Day Parade, it's the 76th year, but also that you give back. Being involved in the community is really important to you, and I know that you were at the Boys and Girls Club Windward Clubhouse growing, like that was part of something that you did growing up, and then you've gone back to volunteer or teach classes,
I have.
Whatever the correct term is.
Yeah.
And then what else? I mean, why is that important to you? Did you have some really good experiences that you just want to give to other kids? Just talk a little bit about being in the community, providing scholarships for kids, stuff like that.
Absolutely. Well, to go back to my childhood, all the things that I did were things that gave me life. And so if I can go back into the community and do similar things for kids that are maybe struggling the same way I was when maybe other people didn't really know, it's just another outlet for kids to have fun. So I will go back to the Boys and Girls Club, Kailua High School. We'll go to elementary schools all over the island and talk with kids. And it's just something I'm really passionate about. And being able to connect with kids and make a difference is a really big deal. And it's even better being able to go back to some of these people who helped me in my life and give back to them. A great example is Keoki Frazier over at Kailua House School.
Yeah.
He's a really great guy, amazing principal. He had me intern back at Monowilly in 2012 when I was still in high school and gave me an opportunity to go into the schools to start teaching art. Well, now I have a relationship with Keoki. He's an excellent guy, and I, not this last year, but the previous year, even volunteered to help at like their little art fair thing.
Oh, cool.
So they're really great. But there's other teachers and educators and businesses that I've just connected with over the years. I'm like, yeah, we're forever friends, like Kailua Music School.
And like Kailua Dance, I want to talk about that because you have really developed, continued, strengthened relationships with other Kailua businesses that work with kids and others that don't. So what are you in Kailua Music School doing?
Aaron at Kailua Music School is just a giant ray of light and so much fun. And any opportunity we have to be like, hey, we're having a thing. Do your kids want to play?
Yeah.
What better fit is art and music together? And it's the same with Carolyn at Kailua Dance Academy. What's also kind of important about like those keiki programs is we have keiki programs, they have keiki programs. Guess what? Kailua is small, we all share students.
Yeah.
And how special is it to see that your kid goes to place A, B, C, D, and E, and all of them are friends too. That is a example that we can set for the kids.
Yeah.
How do you be friends with people in the community that should be your competition? Well, we're not competition. We're all just friends. And if we can just work together, then the kids get to see that too. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I do the parade. That's one of the reasons why I continue to connect with other random business owners. Because anytime that you can show students that you can form these relationships, it's important and special for them.
Yeah. And you have the relationships with business owners 1,000%. And also just because, how many kids have you taught about? Do you even know?
Oh, I would say I started teaching in 2012. I would say at this point, I'm somewhere in the 9,000 range at this point.
The reason I ask is because you talk about like walking into Target or wherever and it's like, Miss Asia, you see, but if you're I see you at Lukahi Kailua Market on Sundays, and it's like one parent after another, whether their kids are current students or not. And so it's almost like everywhere you go, you're running into someone that you are connected with through KidzArt.
A couple years ago, we worked a whole really busy summer. I went on a vacation. It was like a red eye, midnight. I got on the plane and I had students sitting in front of me the entire trip to the mainland. Nice. Yeah. To Florida, mind you. So like a 9-hour flight with the student that I just left.
You're like, here's stuff to do. Here's an art project.
Yeah, every hour or so you get like what are you doing now, Miss Asia? I'm like, watching my show,
Give me a minute.
Yeah, no, you can't get away from them. And to be honest, I'm actually an introvert, so when I'm running into Target, I'm like, just here for my creamer. But I love my students at the end of the day, so it is kind of special to hear, hi, Miss Asia, from like across the street. I'm easy to spot. It's the hair.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's so funny. But I had a point.
Not a point.
I did. I was going to say something. But now I can't remember what it was. But it had to do with just knowing all kinds of... Oh, it was the fact that... Because I talked about this with Lori, my guinea pig number one, for the first podcast. But Kailua, and maybe Hawaii in general is this special, but Kailua is really special because people who may be competing, maybe, like, basically the pot is big enough for everyone. And I think Kailua people understand that. Just because someone goes to KidzArt doesn't mean that they're not going to go somewhere else. Just because someone does an after-school program at one place doesn't mean they're not going to go to a camp at another. Just because someone advertises in another space besides the magazine doesn't mean they're not going to, you know what I mean? It's this whole, and I really do feel, and you can talk about this and your experience, just how supportive of a community it really is. residents, people that live here want to support the people that live here and own businesses, and business owners don't want other business owners to fail from everything I've experienced, and collaborations are pretty easy. So
I completely agree with you. Now, number one, I say that we're so successful because of our students and our families. But the other part of that is we're so successful because of the other Kailua businesses here. At no point have I ever been discouraged by any businesses in this community. And I'm so grateful to call almost all of them friends. Being able to grow up here and being able to connect with so many people has been really cool. And it's long-standing relationships. This isn't like I popped in as a business owner back in 2018 and developed these. There's other examples of that, like Brian and Marshall at Oweno. Back in 2011, when I was still in high school, they were letting me hang my artwork up there. This is a community that doesn't want to see anybody fail. They want to lift everyone up. So I have never been turned away from another business. I've always just had the utmost support, and vice versa. I try my best to support all of my business friends the best I can too. And it goes beyond Kailua too, I think. I think that there's a ton of businesses in town, on the west side, all over that can match that energy too. We get a little cliquey in our own sides of the island, but when you really zoom back, like there's tons of businesses all over, talented, amazing entrepreneurs that just want to see the success of everyone.
That's awesome. It's really wonderful to hear that. You know, it's Kailua is so special, and it's a great place, and it's why I know you. It's how I know you.
Absolutely.
And so just before we wrap up, is there anything you really want people that we haven't talked about to know about you guys as a company, about your plans for the future? Like, maybe one day you will be in a 12,000 square foot warehouse. Are you even like trying to think about that? Or are you more just trying to manage and continue figuring out being here?
Well, if Dan was in the room, I'm just kidding. My husband knows full well that I'm an innovator, so I can't help but dream about the future. Of course, my number one intention is to build the Dream Lab and not make it perfect, because one of our KidzArt rules is it doesn't have to be perfect, but make it the exact right community space for what our community needs. And once I feel like this is exactly where it needs to be, then we're going to look at expanding. And we've actually had maybe 3 or 4 companies reach out to us, kind of propositioning us to come into new spaces. And we've had to turn people down to just be like, keep us in mind maybe in like a year or 2. We really just want this to be super successful first. But we are no strangers to traveling, so we will go to the other sides of the islands and pop up and set up wherever people want us to be. But for now, we're just working on getting this perfect, right?
I got you.
So that's kind of the plans for the future right now. We are growing and expanding. I just started working with KidzArt Corporate a little bit more to help develop some curriculum. We even were just awarded this year the International Franchisee Award, which is actually a huge award. Our franchisors nominated us, I think, at the end of last year. And so in February, we got to go up to Vegas, and it was like a whole huge thing. So that was out of like 860,000 people, and there's 100-ish winners. It was really, really cool. And it was cool to go up and kind of represent Hawaii a little bit.
That's really, really exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, International Franchisee Award for 2024.
For 2024. Yep. And we've just kind of keep getting a few more little things. We, of course, now won Family Favorite with the Kailua Chamber of Commerce. Now our 2nd year in a row. And I think 2nd, right?
Yes.
Yes. And then we've won the Best of Honolulu Best Art Lessons for 3 years, hopefully going into our 4th year. We'll hopefully find out soon. And it's just really exciting to see the community continue to choose us and pick us and lift us up.
Yeah.
And sometimes to the point where I'm like, gosh, I don't even know why they like us so much. But at the end of the day, it's the kids.
Yeah.
So
You take good care of their kids. They're learning. They're having fun. It's a positive place. And I'm just so excited for you and really so proud of you from, just knowing your story and being in this beautiful orange room surrounded, just it's cool, and hearing the kids playing and
yes,
being chaotic, but it's okay. It's what's supposed to happen. So
absolutely.
thank you so much for sitting down with us. Again, KidzArt Hawaii
is our Instagram.
On Instagram, thedreamlab.com. And, they're up here at Kapa'a, and they're open pretty much all the time. So you can just pop in.
Literally. The next couple weeks, this is...
Well, summer camps
start in June. You can come and check things out in June. Yeah. So we'll be open all day in June from 3 to 5 o'clock. Stay and Play is open. And come and check out a camp. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, thank you, Asia, so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for watching. Again, Kailua Town Magazine is here with KidzArt, Club Scientific, The Dream Lab. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.